Hi there, welcome to this masterclass. If you are watching this, you probably suffer from frequent panic attacks or intense feelings of anxiety, and you're looking for an answer, for some kind of a solution, a way to break free from that tight grip that anxiety is. Perhaps your problem is getting bigger and bigger with anxiety controlling your whole life. Perhaps it's been so long that you start to wonder whether it's even possible to recover at all. Today, I want you to experience a few things. I want to show you that curing yourself from panic and anxiety is totally possible and that you can do this too. It doesn't matter how long you've suffered for or how bad your situation is. Everyone can overcome this as long as you're capable of learning. I'm going to show you exactly what you do yourself that creates and maintains your problem. And this is going to blow your mind. I'm going to teach you a different response to anxiety that has cured many people, including myself, from that terrible mental prison you're in. Before I show you all of that, let's quickly double check if this is for you. So if you're watching this, you experience the emotion of fear frequently. It has likely become a problem and it's affecting your quality of life. Perhaps you've stopped going to crowded places, you worry about your health constantly, or you avoid driving your car at all costs. You are living your life in fear. Maybe you've tried therapy, medication, breathing or distraction exercises, but somehow the problem is still there. In fact, it's probably only gotten worse instead of better. Whereas before you only got panic attacks at work, for example, they now start to occur at home as well, adding more and more fear and stress to your daily life. People around you probably don't really get what you're going through, and maybe you're just tired of trying to explain it over and over again. I get that. But somehow you're watching this masterclass. Somehow you're searching for a solution still. So that means you luckily haven't given up yet. And please don't. There is an answer and you're in the right place. But first, who am I? To put it short, my name is Jord, and I suffered from panic attacks and anxiety for about 6 years. I was diagnosed with a panic disorder and generalized anxiety disorder with the hint of hypochondria, and I got myself fully cured. It was during a really tough time in my life when I started to experience my first panic attack. I had just lost my mother and stepdad in a car crash, and just out of nowhere I got this huge panic attack when I was sitting in a stranded train. I had never experienced anything like that before, and it freaked me out. That first attack got me caught in a trap in the years after that, and I avoided going outside as much as I could. It felt like, honestly, the old me was gone forever and everyone around me was just continuing their lives. Anxiety was controlling my day even before I had woken up. And then COVID hit and it only got worse. Until I got fed up with it, because something switched inside of me and I started looking for the answer. I spent about $20,000 on personal coaching, on seminars, books, therapy, just to look for that cure. And it took me a long time, but I finally found it. And I knew I had it the moment I invested the first minutes into it, in the solution that I'm going to share with you now. Since then, I was able to cure myself in just a few months' time, and now I'm helping people all around the world to do the same through free content and a step-by-step 16-week program. So how did I do it? Well, let me explain. I recently read that 6 out of 10 people never recover from anxiety disorder. And that made me think, why? Why is it that so many people suffer from this, but so few people actually recover? And it's actually not that crazy. There are 2 big reasons as to why people never recover that I want you to know. And it's a hard reality, so get ready. Number 1, it's tough to find the right information. It really is. A lot of stuff you find online doesn't really work, at least not in the long run. And a lot of it is written by people who never ever experienced it themselves. The right approach isn't so easy to find, so it's no wonder you haven't found it yet. And on top of that, when you try out methods that don't work, you can get worried or hopeless about ever finding it, and that decreases the chances of you actually finding and using the answer. So most people just don't know how to do it. And how can you recover from what I'm guessing is the biggest problem in your life if you don't know exactly how to do it? Well, you can't. It's that simple. You have to know how to do it, and then you have to actually do it, which brings me to the second reason why so many people don't recover, which is it takes effort to get cured. And I know this isn't something you want to hear. But the hard truth is that anxiety isn't something like a broken leg. Your body won't suddenly heal itself. You have to do this consciously. You're basically using your brain in a certain way that keeps on creating anxiety while giving you the impression that you're controlling it. And it's the most logical and natural response, but it's a trap. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So if you're using your brain in a certain way, why wouldn't you be able to learn how to use your brain in a different way? If I could do that alongside thousands of others who have recovered this way as well, why wouldn't you, right? Let's dive a little bit deeper into the how, because we have to know exactly what we're dealing with so we can heal. We have to become a little bit of an expert on the problem. Because get this, people who know everything about anxiety will never get trapped in it again. It's impossible. Today, I'm going to show you what you do subconsciously to maintain anxiety. I'll quickly cover something that I call the anxiety loop, which is a pattern or cycle that everyone with this problem is inside of. And after that, I have a fun little exercise we can do together about finding your emotional limit. That'll make a lot of sense if you're suffering from anxiety. So this is how the pattern of anxiety looks when drawn out visually. It all starts with an experience that can be a thought, a sensation, a feeling, or an emotion. And at this point, we're still fine. But then we start to doubt this experience and we ask ourselves a question that often starts with, what if? Like, say you're feeling heart palpitations. The what if question might be, what if I have a heart attack? And your brain will try to help you by visualizing this doomsday scenario, right? And needless to say, this is a very scary one. So we have to do something to make sure that it doesn't happen. And that's when we start to automatically laser focus on it to make sure it doesn't happen. Are the sensations getting worse? Am I feeling anxious? Now, what happens when you focus on the thing you don't want? It's going to happen. You're going to experience exactly that. So the heart palpitations are getting worse, which reinforces your belief in that what if question again. And then you go through this cycle over and over until you reach a peak, which for most people is a panic attack. And after that, you're fine again until the next experience. This is all behavior. It's a pattern. And all of this is caused by the true reason behind it, fear of fear. It's the driving force behind this cycle. We don't want to experience anxiety, so we do all of this to avoid it, but instead create more of it. Basically, we're afraid of feeling the emotion of fear, like a panic attack. A lot of times, the thing we don't want to experience and thus do experience is anxiety itself. We ask ourselves, what if I get a panic attack when I can't leave? And we visualize this, and then we start focusing on it to make sure we're calm, right? And not feeling any panic. And because we're afraid of it, we create fear and actually start to experience panic, right? That's a cycle. And we do all of this because we desperately don't want to experience anxiety because we believe we can't handle it. In short, what we do to maintain the problem is we engage in a fantasy here between the what if and the doomsday scenario. And we resist whatever we don't want to feel, often anxiety itself, here. There's resistance there. And by the way, do you see why things like distraction, meditation, or breathing exercise don't help you to overcome this? Because they work, right? And they make you relax for a moment. So you leave the cycle for a second. But the fear of fear is still there, right? So eventually you're going to focus again on what you don't want. You're going to check in again. Basically, you're voluntarily going back into the cycle. Right? Am I really feeling calm? Or is anxiety really gone? Right? And then you're back in the cycle and you're just going to experience more of that. And the way to escape this cycle is to break down the fantasy and accept instead of resist. Right? Accept the unpleasant feelings. It all starts by breaking down the fear of fear. I want to ask you to try during your next moment of anxiety to remember this cycle. And recognize where in the cycle you are and notice that you apply fantasy or resistance. And I know it might be hard to remember all of this, so at the end of the video I'll share a link to a PDF version of it that you can pull anytime you feel anxious. So now we know that resisting anxiety only makes it worse. Can we try accepting it? By the way, I'm not talking about accepting your current state or problem as something you have to live with forever. I'm talking about accepting the emotion of anxiety, the emotion of fear. And if it sounds strange, please hear me out. Because fear is a basic human emotion that we cannot get rid of. You've tried it, it doesn't work. Fear can protect us and we need it. To illustrate, let's do a little exercise together. Here's a graph of a few human emotions that we all know. We've got happiness, anger, and fear. And Emotions are created in the brain with all kinds of chemicals that your body produces that make you feel a certain way, right? Since your body creates this chemical change in you, it has a natural limit. There's a limit on the amount of chemicals your body can produce, a limit to when your brain and body is full and it no longer produces more. If your body creates these emotions, it can't really go wrong, can it? If your body produces it, you can't really get into a situation in which your body physically can't handle the emotion any longer. It's your body's own production. So you're able to handle the highest amount of an emotion that your body can produce. Because if not, evolution wouldn't be working, right? And this is fascinating because we often have a story as to why we can't experience an emotion at 100% level. And often this is fear, but it applies to all kinds of emotions. Let me illustrate. So we've got happiness here, right? What percentage of happiness do I allow myself to feel? Well, that's an easy one, 100%. I allow myself 100% of the emotion of happiness, right? What about anger? I mean, I don't like it, but do I allow myself to feel angry even though I don't want to? Sure, I think now in my life I can accept anger at 100% as well. Right. What about the next one, the emotion of fear? And before I tell you my limit, I want to ask you to have a percentage in your mind to what extent you allow yourself to feel anxious. Is it 0%? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? Or is it even 90%? Most people have a limit to which they say they allow themselves to get to, but it shouldn't exceed that limit because then they feel like they can no longer handle it. You can guess it by now, but I've never come across someone suffering from anxiety who says that he or she accepts fear at a full 100%. Say that your anxiety limit is 60%. Right. 60%. What happens when you feel anxiety build up, right? Coming close to your limit. You start to get nervous and you tell yourself, it shouldn't get any worse, right? Because I'm reaching my limit. Then what if it hits 61%? This is where your anxiety is now. 61%, right? That's over your limit. Oh no. Maybe you feel physical sensations build up and you start to feel nauseous or sweaty. What do you do then? You start to freak out as you don't think you can handle this much fear. And you fear that fear. So basically you are adding more of it. The level goes up. Maybe now you're here, right? And you add even more fear as you catastrophize. And before you know it, you're at the 100% level. So the whole idea behind putting a limit on your emotion is to make sure you don't get anxious. Do you accomplish that by doing so? No, the opposite is actually done, right? You actually reach 100%, which is your natural limit, the highest amount of the emotion you can physically feel, more quicker. As soon as you're over your limit, it jumps to 100%. So the limit on the emotion is actually what causes you to reach that 100%. The same applies to anger or sadness, by the way, because everyone knows those people who hold in their anger or sadness and every now and then they burst out in tears or in an anger outburst when they go over their limit, right? So it's pointless to have a limit on the emotion of fear. Yes, it's unpleasant. Yes, it's scary. Right? But it's your body's own production and it's harmless. I allow myself to feel anxious at 100%. That doesn't mean I want to feel it, doesn't mean I like to feel it, but I just allow and have space for it. And that makes me automatically remain close to 0%. Right? But when I need to feel anxious, when I'm in a dangerous situation, for example, I'm glad I can. So what the limit represents is fear of fear. Why is there a limit? Because you think you can't handle it. When you allow it to go to 100%, it often doesn't. That's the whole silly thing about it. So it's a must to allow any level of fear to be. And by the way, try not to accept it in order for it to go away. right? Because that's resistance in disguise. Acceptance sounds easy, but can become a paradox too once you realize it works. So I hope this makes sense, and I know it's easier said than done. And to really apply this, it's crucial to fully understand anxiety and know that you're safe. Can you also see now, by the way, that a lot of these things that you've tried actually belong in the anxiety loop, right? And support this artificial limit that you have on feeling the emotion of fear, like when you use breathing exercises, meditation or distraction or supplements even. They're all used to get relief from the emotion of anxiety. You feel like you don't want to, you don't allow it, or you can't handle it, so you try to drown it out. That's the fear of fear. And it's completely normal to do this, and there's nothing wrong with you. And obviously I'm not trying to attack you. The behavior you have is natural, but unfortunately it's a paradox, right? The good news is that because you do it yourself, you can end it too. It's all about recognizing your behavior and learning a new response. It's about crushing the fantasy and accepting the uncomfortable. And that can be done by using a very effective 5-step strategy that I teach that makes anxiety recovery as practical as possible and helps you to truly accept it and not fall into the acceptance paradox. But again, it's a skill and it doesn't happen overnight. And it all starts by understanding the mechanics of anxiety first. So the true secret and the core of my method is being okay with anxiety and panic, not pushing it away, not doing all this stuff to control it, but no longer caring about whether or not it shows up, because then it won't any longer. And when I implemented all of this, I fully recovered in a few months. It's crazy what the power of the right strategy does in combination with pure will, effort, and a time investment. And honestly, there were times when I didn't see light at the end of the tunnel. I almost stopped believing I could ever recover. And now I'm talking about it almost as if it wasn't the biggest thing I've ever done in my life so far. And it all started with a decision. Some of the things I told you today immediately made sense to me when I first learned about it. And it felt different from all the things I had tried that I'm sure you've tried too. And that's what led me to decide I would invest more time and effort into getting myself healed, instead of blaming things outside of myself or reverting back to quick fixes. And now might be a moment where you can make a decision. Because as I see it, you've got a choice. You can leave this masterclass and continue doing what you were doing, potentially continuing your search for the answer, or giving up and continuing life in suffering. Or you can say to yourself, this is the moment. I'm done with feeling this, I have to make a change and I must do it now. I know that you probably tried a lot already, but have you tried this? Or have you just tried methods that kept on resisting anxiety, that kept on reinforcing the fear of fear? If you are done with feeling anxious all the time and not living the life you want or deserve, if you're fed up with not going on holidays, not being able to join your friends at a bar or walk the dog in peace or being the best parent or grandparent that you can be, then this is the time. There's no better time than now. And for those people, I have an opportunity. It's my mission to help as many people reach full recovery from anxiety as I possibly can. And for that reason, I have created a mini course that covers the most impactful, practical, and important teachings in the anxiety recovery journey. Things that can make an immediate impact on your situation. We'll cover the mechanics of anxiety, so you understand what you're going through, and that you're not crazy, and that there's nothing wrong with you. We cover the anxiety loop in depth. And of course, I will teach you the 5-step strategy so you know exactly what to do when anxiety or panic shows up. And don't get me wrong, this will give you immediate relief. That's not the goal. The goal is removing the underlying problem, which is the fear of fear. And it does both at the same time. That's how powerful it is. By the end of this crash course, you'll know how to handle anxiety, whether it's constant feelings of anxiety, whether it's panic attacks, derealization, depersonalization, intrusive thoughts, OCD. It all belongs under the same umbrella and it has fear of fear at its core. With this new response, you can gradually desensitize your nervous system, so you'll experience less and less of the physical or mental symptoms that scare or bother you today. The mini course is so powerful that many people have told me they've stopped having panic attacks right after watching it, like Stefanie, for example.
I was getting panic attacks multiple times a day, every day. And I would have to call my sister, I would call my neighbor, like letting them know, hey, I'm having a panic attack. Can you just, come meet me so I don't pass out and I'm freaking out and I can't snap out of it. And how you broke it down literally, I have not had a panic attack since then. And that's simply by how you broke it down. No one has been able in the last 13 years to break down the pattern that we go through.
The greatest gift you can give yourself is the knowledge of how the biggest problem in your life can exist and what you can do practically to break the cycle and dissolve it. So if you're here, you're ready. You can learn this skill. All you need to do is make the decision and put in the effort. It doesn't matter how long you've had this problem or how bad it is. These steps work for everyone, but it's up to you to learn and apply it. No one can do that for you. To make this mini course accessible for anyone to try, I've decided that it shouldn't be more expensive than one therapy session, which on average costs about $150. And this mini course is double the length of an average session, and you can watch it as many times as you like. It's also a lot more practical than the average session, and is hosted by me, someone who's experienced what you're going through. And in my experience, it's best to learn from someone who has done what you want to do. For me at least, that made all the difference. For that reason, I'm going to offer you this mini course even cheaper than a therapy session because I want you to take action. And I know what my current situation would have been had I not made that decision myself. And thinking about that just makes me really sad. So to give you this opportunity and to thank you for watching this video all the way through, I've decided that for a limited time only, I'm going to offer you the mini course on overcoming anxiety for a one-time payment of $47. And on top of that, I'd like to add the 30-day do the work guarantee where you can get your money back within 30 days if you decide this isn't for you. No questions asked. This is the step that many people need but often fail to take. Most people focus on thoughts like, what if this doesn't work for me? Or what if I can't do it? Or what if I don't understand it? And as a result, they take no action. The best investment you can make is in yourself. Imagine how your life would be if you were free from anxiety and panic. How could your life be better? You can achieve this too. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with you. You simply haven't found the right guide yet. I hope this masterclass showed you that this is exactly what you need so you can try it without any risk and get yourself on that recovery journey. My life is completely different now from what it used to be. Besides the fact that I now help people overcome what was once the worst thing in my life, I'm in general so much happier. I enjoy life, doing everything I want, going wherever I want. And this changed my whole life even more than I thought or could ever imagine. And I wish that for you too. I hope you see that you deserve that, because I know that you do. So take the opportunity and click the link below to sign up while this offer is still available. And remember to allow anxiety to be, because whatever you resist persists. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.